Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Well, good evening. Thanks for inviting us to come down. We're Virginia TARPN, and I heard some discussion earlier. Everyone was asking, what is TARPN? It's the Terrestrial Amateur Radio Packet Network. Real quick. Oh, let's see what happened. I gotta click OK. Okay, there we go. So I want to introduce the team that we have down with us or up with us today. I'm Jason Rausch, K4APR. Jason Thurston, KG4AEP. Arthur White, N4TRQ. John Best, KC4MEC, and Pete Anoia, K4VBX. I say your right last name correctly? Okay, I'll just make sure. Well, we've only been friends for a few years. So we're gonna go through these slides because we want to definitely get to the demo. So we're a group of amateurs that are interested in digital packet communications and experimenting. One of our goals is to build a regional or statewide packet radio network. We're not a club at all. We have no bylaws or anything like that. We're just a group of guys that love doing this kind of stuff in amateur radio. We're, as you can see, we are stretching from Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Portsmouth. We've got some guys up in Gloucester, Williamsburg, in those areas are starting to get involved. And I put a few shout outs here. These a couple of, well, Jason's there, but some of these other guys have been very instrumental in helping us. So I put them in the slide just as a thank you. So let's talk about TARPN. So originally it was a concept by the NC Packet Group out in North Carolina, kind of centralized around the Raleigh area. They like to call it social media for amateur radio. I guess that works, you know, it's a way of getting us all together and talking, because that's what we're supposed to do in amateur radio, right? It's an all RF network, so no internet whatsoever, okay? No internet. There is Ethernet involved, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but it's all RF, okay? It's typically 1200, 9600 baud FSK, GFSK packet links. We'll talk about that a little bit more as well if you're not familiar with traditional packet. Nodes connecting each other, a combination of what we call linear or spoken hub. When I show you the map, that'll make a little more sense. But think of it as in, well, look at the example I have in front of you here. These three nodes here, they're each individual nodes, and they're connected in a linear fashion. This one talks to this one talks to this one, and they just kind of bounce back and forth. Now, if I was to connect a fourth node off of, say, this guy, now we have more of a spoken hub kind of configuration where this guy is now in the middle, and it's got three guys connected off. Does that make sense? Fine. And if I'm going too fast or you don't understand something, we're going to do some questions at the end, okay? So we already crossed the big question: internet linking. No internet linking. We're not going to do that, okay? Another thing that we're trying to avoid is public or commercial installations. Think about this for a second. You've been working at this business for 10 years, and your supervisor is a ham too. And he goes, hey, you want to put some stuff on the roof? Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, awesome. We want to put a node up there. We want to put a node on top of this building. Next week, he retires. The next guy comes in and goes, the hell is all this stuff? Get it out of here. What happened? You just broke the link. You just broke the link that was passing through you. So we're trying to avoid that. So we're really leaning on your home. If you own the business and you own the building, go right at it. Maybe colleges, if you're a professor or something like that, but even that has its risks, you know. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a Linux-based OS. It's at the core, there's a Raspberry Pi running each one of these nodes. We're going to talk in that a little more detail on that. And it's always on and operating. So how many of us have our Go bags or our Go boxes and all that crap that we put together for when the big thing happens, right? Yet a year later, I grab it because the hurricane's getting ready to tear apart tie wire, and half of it doesn't work. Batteries are dead. You aren't pulling this stuff out, trying and using it on it. It's a second pause. This system is on all the time. It's always working. When something breaks, we know it. We know it pretty quickly. Going back to that linking, okay, this node died. We just lost this half. Now, these two halves of the network are still working, but we lost this link in the middle. And there is some redundancy stuff that can be done to try to avoid that. Like in general, we'll just think of it as, boom, that node died, we lost the linkage between those two segments. Okay, so let's talk about the hardware. So as you can see in front of you, these are three what we call typical nodes. Built these demos specifically for these types of events, going to clubs to show you how this stuff works. The minimal node would have a single radio, single TNC, and a Raspberry. Right? Typically two. Why? That guy's got to pass through here, and this guy's passing through here. So, and they're dedicated links. Okay, so you have a dedicated radio and TNC per link. Okay, Jason and I are linked. We're in fact, realistically, we're going to be linked here real soon. He and I are going to be linked through a node at Old Dominion University. There's a professor there who runs the lab and runs everything and said, you can put a node up here. Well, it just happens to be just between him and I. I'm over in Chesapeake, he's over in Norfolk. If that node was to die, we talked about that, but you know, we're going to pretend everything works perfectly all the time. There's a Raspberry Pi. I put a 4. You could run it on a Pi 3. Pi 3 is a little slow. Pi 4 works great. Pi 5 is actually way too much. You really don't need to waste some money on Pi 5. So Pi 4, and we recommend the 4 gigabyte one, which is the middle of the road. Each node, as we talked about, is a link in the chain. So me, the Jason, the Arthur, the Pete, just is going to hop like that. Okay. The TNC itself, and we'll talk a little more about TNCs if anyone's not familiar with that, is a KISS interface, meaning that it has a USB serial interface that is a well-known documented protocol. So that way, when you plug your KISS TNC, when whoever made it plugs in, it knows how to talk to it. It's more universal. We are using a lot of commercial radios. As you can see, we've got these tape radios. I like to use Motorola's. I'm a former Motorola guy, so I like my Motorola radios. But really any radio, I mean, I think John's running a mix of commercial and you've got some amateur grade stuff too, right? I think Pete's doing the same thing. Jason, I think we're running all mobile. No, you've got all tape. I've got all mobile. So anyways, you can mix and match, okay? This is what we kind of refer to as the Virginia TARPN. Well, so we got 2 meters, 220, 446 meters. Jason and I are getting ready to run, well, we were going to do 220, but I think we're going to do UHF now. A majority of the links that we're running are UHF. Yeah. We're finding these tape radios when we find them. These things work great. The switching on is great. I have some examples, so afterwards, if anyone wants to look at that. What we refer to as like the TARPN form factor, that's this node right here. These, all three of these, basically, you know, the radios, got some trays that hold the TNCs, and then you got a tray that holds the Raspberry Pi. And then this is a special power breakout board. I actually have an example here. These HP power supplies. You can buy 2 of these on Amazon right now for $28, and they provide like 60 amps, I think, 50 or 60 amps. We designed a backplane board and some 3D printed brackets. Plugs right in. Little 3D printed plate on the front to protect it from being exposed, and then you got LEDs to tell you, all, you know, if your fuse burns out, the LED goes out, and you go, oh, okay, now I know why my radio will turn on. And then the last thing is, the beauty of this thing is you can build this any way you want, as pretty or as ugly as you want, because it doesn't matter. You're not going to be looking at it. You're going to hide it in your closet. You're going to stick it under your desk, because it's going to be Ethernet or Wi-Fi, like Ethernet connected to your network in your house. Not internet, just Ethernet, so you can access it, and it serves a home page right on the Raspberry Pi that you'll access. And when we do the demo, I'll show you, you can actually even access it with a tablet or a phone or whatever, because I'm going to connect Wi-Fi. Right? In fact, if any of you were to search right now, you'll see a network called VA Target. You can connect to it right now. It's open. Whoops. Okay, so this is just a block diagram of a node, just to kind of break it down a little bit more. You can see we've got the Raspberry Pi, power supply. I put 5 volts because that's what the Raspberry Pi runs off of. You can see you've got your Ethernet to your network. And then there's a node status panel you'll see on the front. You see these blinking LEDs that kind of gives you an idea of the node is functioning correctly. And then in this case, we got 2 radio nodes. So you can see USB connected TNCs, the terminal node controllers, as we call them. They're connected to the radio, so you see it's a USB connection, then it's an audio push to talk connection to the radio, and then of course you out to your antennas to the outside world. Everybody still with me? Okay, cool. Just some more examples of radios. It's the tape radio we were talking about, the Vertex. John, if you guys have some of these Vertexes, we managed to get our hands on pretty cheap. You can see this is one of the examples of the TNC. This particular TNC is called the Nino TNC. That's a surface mount version that is built, tested, flashed. When you buy it, it's ready to plug in and just use it. There's also a kit version. I've got some pictures of that. And this is just an example. Actually, Yaesu just stopped making these. These were those FTM 1900s, I think. It was the 60-watt 2-mirror mobile. What made this really attractive is it was really easy to modify for 9600 baud. So unfortunately, it's good. They just stopped making these, but you can still find them out there for sale and use. So they're a good example if you want to stay ready. So there we go. There's the TNC. So there's the surface mount version I just talked about. There's the kit version. Now, dirty little secret is I manufacture these. Okay. The kit version is available through Nino himself. His name's Nino, who designed it. He will only sell you the PCB and the processor. You gotta go find all the rest of the parts. Now there is a BOM that you can go through in Mauser to build one. But it's fun. I love kit building. So if you're up for that, you can do that, or you can buy. And another dirty little secret, I do have several of these full kits with me tonight if anyone's interested, and I've got 9 of these with me. This isn't a sales pitch, I'm just counting. Okay, so we talked about you'll access the node remotely. You don't have to actually be sitting in front of this thing. Okay, this thing can be anywhere as long as it's connected to your network. This is what you'll see when you go to your web browser and you connect to it. You'll actually see there's a big chat window. We're kind of going back to AOL, 1998. We got a big chat window, and you can see all the people on the network that have, and this is just an example. This was actually, I think, borrowed from the NC Packet website. But yours will look the same way depending on how many people are in your network. Now, there are options to be able to send private messages or emails through the BBS function. If anyone in here remembers the old BBSs, this does have that functionality as well. So I know it says proposed. I should have modified this. This is an example of a lot of our guys. This isn't everybody. I probably screenshot this from like a year ago when we were first starting to build this. But you can see on the map, you can see where we've got the various packet nodes throughout the area. The nodes, they're links. So this, for example, let's use John down here and Mike. So where are they at here? Looking for them on here. Anyways, let's pretend this is John and Mike. They're 2.8 miles, the frequency, and then the baud rate. We use this as a frequency table to just kind of keep track. And remember, each link is individual. So each link has to have its own frequency. So something like a table like this really helps you kind of track what's being used between who and what baud rate. Those are your 3 big things right there. That's just a close-up view. For example, Pete, who's with us tonight, that's him, and John sitting over here, or John's over here. They were originally supposed to link. They're actually, Pete's now connected to Bill, and John, this link isn't going to happen. This is an old screenshot, but you get the idea.
But it works with Sperry. So that is
Yes, that's right. That's right. These are just a couple more screenshots I just threw up here. This is kind of Virginia Beach. So you can see there's some density. We've actually added about half a dozen more people since. So we've got quite a few more in that map. All right, so real quick, I want to cover some of these slides. Our friend Sperry, who's a genius. It's the only way I can really describe it. And I think everyone that knows him would agree with me on that. When Sperry speaks, we listen. That's what I like to say. He's a very intelligent man. He has built another node in addition to his to be part of this packet forwarding network that's starting to sprout up on the East Coast. It's starting to work its way west. The reason I want this to be part of the discussion is I want everyone to understand that you can build your TARPN network in your region. Okay, great. We can all talk to each other. That's awesome. That's great. And if that's all you want to do, that's awesome too. But you can have somebody designated to build a node that will now link over HF to some of these packet forwarding nodes, and now we're not just talking to each other, we're also sending messages over that link to this packet network over here, and this packet network over here. So that's what the forwarding network's all about. This is actually Sperry threw some slides together for me today that I so you can see this. I want to say this map is as of like a day or two ago. So you can see where a bunch of these packet forwarding nodes are popping up. There's Sperry right there, that particular one. And you only really need one, as long as your local guys can all get to that node. You don't need to have multiples. It's not like WinLink where you have to have a WinLink RMS node every 5 miles, so you can use it. This is just another, this is actually pretty cool. If you go to their website, the packet forwarding, you can actually grab, you can click and it will like make it the central and it will rearrange it automatically so you can see it better. If you get a chance, go to their website and play with that map. It's kind of neat. Sperry gave me this, this is a really good one showing you how he's got his TARPN node. And then he's built his packet forwarding node and he's got them connected to Ethernet. Again, no internet, just Ethernet. And this is just a breakdown. And he's doing multiple nodes with this. He's doing VARA over HF, VARA over FM, and then his node over here is taking care of all the local traffic. How are we doing on time?
12 minutes, 26.
All right. And this is just a screenshot of his packet forwarding node. You can see he's running multiple instances of VARA. VARA is one of those things you have to kind of research on your own. The big thing to understand about VARA is they can only be implemented in a Windows environment through software. There is no such thing as a VARA modem or a VARA TNC, which is really a shame. Because if they would allow us to implement that, then I could take it, throw it in a box like this and do VARA. But I can't. I gotta hook a Windows box to this just to do that. So to me, that's a downside. Unfortunately, the VAR guys are not willing to share, so that's probably the way it's going to be forever. Unfortunately, unless somebody backward engineers it. And this is our screenshot. I think this was from maybe today, actually. Yeah, these are just some of the messages that it was passing through Sperry's packet forwarding going out to some of the other networks. So it's active. I'm sorry, yeah, Pactor is always an option as long as you get a KISS interface between your Pactor modem. And yeah, that's absolutely an option. Okay, so we're nearing the end here of the slide. So there's our homepage. Our very own John's taking care of the homepage for us. Here's what do we need? And this isn't necessarily for our group. This is more what does your group need if you want to build something like this. I say help. You do. You need help. You need a lot of really dedicated, good friends who are willing to put up with you. God knows these guys are I'm bugging them all the time. You need people to join in. So you gotta have people. So you gotta have people that say, yeah, I want to be part of this. Yes, I'm willing to build a node, even if I need help doing it. Yes, I'm willing to put it on the air and keep it on the air. That's the big thing. I say join our Discord. I have a QR code. We have a Discord group that originally started with our group, but like I said, other areas of the state, people are starting to join on creating new channels. So like I have a pretty dense, number of channels for the Tidewater area, but I just added the Gloucester channel. Added new channels. So like if your group decided to do this and you start joining our Discord, I'll create a Charlottesville channel for you so you can keep your Charlottesville chat in there. But you can always jump into like the hardware channel if you want to talk about hardware or whatever. That's more universal. But if you have local conversation about your nodes, tell your friends how much fun it is. They'll go, oh my God, where's this been my whole life? And if you've got old packet equipment, if you've got old KPC3s or MFJ 1278s, they're 12 pieces of junk, but some of them still work. If you have any of that stuff, you can put some of that stuff to use. If you got old 2-meter 440 mobiles sitting around there, put them to use. Build one of these. It's kind of like if those of you who ran APRS, back when Bob first, that was his thing. He knew packet was dying. So he started telling everyone, well, hey, you've already got the gear to do APR packet. You can do APRS. You don't have to do anything else. Use the same equipment, with the exception of the GPS part of it. All right. Before we get to questions, I just want to pop these up. If anyone wants to use these QR codes, that'll take you to the Discord. That'll take you to the TARPN home, and I'll come back to this slide in a minute. Okay. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. So, questions?
So how much is the TNC node that you have?
So the kits, I've got those with me, those are 55 a piece, that's with all the parts you need. The surface mount set a piece.
That's the one that's pre-done.
Yeah, it's flash tested, everything's ready to roll, handed to you, and you plug it in and use it. The big difference between, other than the through hole and surface mount, is the surface mount uses the mini DIN standard, which is the packet standard connection, pinned exactly as all the other manufacturers. The through hole uses the what we call the KBC standard, the DB9. 1, 3, 5, and 6 are your signals and grounds. So that's the only real big difference of, and then of course being a lot smaller. I've got that stuff with me, so if somebody wants to get rid of that stuff. Show you. Yes,
Jason, so you mentioned you linked with HF. So is that sort of like, digital frequency, like 20-meter digital frequency, like 1407?
whatever frequency, so the packet forwarding guys, they have some specific frequencies that they've selected for doing that.
Right.
So if you get into that side of it, I highly recommend you get involved with their group as well. They've got a groups IO group as well as I think they don't have a Discord, but they have a groups IO group. Highly recommend you join that, get to know N4TRQ, I can't remember some of the other call signs, but there's some guys in there, obviously the guys are kind of running that. Talk to them and they will guide you in that direction. I'm not the guy to ask about that.
What other question was, the antennas required for those. Where you?
So I should have brought one with me, but a bunch of us have been buying, what's that?
I should have brought one.
I know it was a big one. So on Amazon, believe it or not, you can buy a UHF fiberglass stick antenna. It's about this big. Or what were they, $28 last time we were buying them? $28.
Just the dual band one, just get the UHF.
Get the UHF only one. You don't get the VHF one, which Jim too. For the UHF, threw that thing on an analyzer. It's ridiculous.
But most of us are running directionals for the point.
Yeah, and there's a $50 Yagi. There's a $50 Yagi, UHF Yagi on Amazon right now that,
5, 6 elements.
yeah, they were looking for delivering. What's the
One's for one for each lane.
What's the longest distance?
The longest one would be Brian, K4VBX, who's down in Currituck, North Carolina, and John Howell, who is in South Chesapeake, and I think they're right at 14 miles.
He's running. I think we're together.
Yeah, they're both behind the Yankees.
You mentioned Gloucester, do you have any links from the south side into roads up to the peninsula?
So actually, our guy who's gonna be the link across the water, he's put his note in this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed, right? So, so real quick.
So then ask you.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, the screen ratio or the aspect ratio is kind of screwing this up. So you can see a couple of these nodes. I'm not sure why all three are. When we start messing around with either. Let me refresh this real quick. No, only two. All right, so the screen on the right, to the left is going to be your live web interface to the node. The screen on the right is called QT term. And what this is a really good tool for monitoring all the packet activity. So I'm just gonna do what's called send nodes, and that's gonna just force these things so you can hear them beaconing. And what that's doing is it's basically saying, hey, I'm here. Do any of my neighbors hear me? If you hear me, answer back. Let's see, walk around this real quick. Sure, everything's still powered up here. Yeah, okay. But yeah, you'll sit there and they'll sit there and there's a mode called keep alive, which even if you don't have active links at the moment, every few minutes they'll beacon, just say, hey, I'm still here, and you'll get some, there we go. Yeah, so you see there's a little bit of activity happening here. Anyways, yeah, this is primarily how you'd access it, is through this, okay? So did anyone by any chance connect to the network? when I mentioned it. When I mentioned that we had the Wi-Fi set up. Where's it going? There we go. Yeah. I believe this might have assigned a different IP. When we started plugging that other stuff in, they started assigning a different IPs, but you can see right here, you can see Sperry, which is this middle one, and K4APR right here. Yeah, but you can hear them chattering back and forth, so if we had more time, I would have set these up with individual, so everyone could sit there and tap,
So I can, Jason, I can connect to the TARPN unit,
Yeah, are you connected to it?
but no,
You are? Okay, so if you want to try it real quick, go open up your browser. And go to I don't know if you can read this, but it's 192.168.100.145 colon 8085.
I think-
Yeah, you can, it can get a little choked down after a while, but give it a shot.
And I think that last one's 146, right?
Is it?
You,
Good. 146 colon 8085. But that you should be able to pull that up on a phone or tablet or whatever, as long as you're connected to this router here. Yeah, if you want to. Connect to that's the node. So 192.168.100.88. Yes. Which that should be spared.
So the seat dynamically create an entire topology routing table?
Yes.
You have to statically create that.
So, real quick, without getting too technical on that, what you do is you tell it, hey, your neighbors, let's use this one for example. Hey, you're this call sign, your neighbor A is gonna be this call sign, your neighbor B is this call sign. And that's all you can tell it. Now, what it does, it says, okay, I know my neighbors are supposed to be K4APR and KI4UDD, it happens to be my wife. I've already the call sign. It starts listening to the radio ports, both ports. It knows it has two TNCs connected to it because it detected them on. It starts listening to the ports, and all of a sudden it hears K4APR on port 1. He goes, you must be the K4APR neighbor A I'm looking for. So I'm gonna set up a route between us here. And it's sitting there, and then here's KI4UDD on port 2. You must be neighbor B, KI4UDD. I'm gonna set up a route with you on that road. And now it's set up the routes dynamically. I add a third station, and all I gotta do is go in there and say, hey, you now have a C neighbor, and your C neighbor is KG4AEP. So all of a sudden it starts hearing him, but I can go in there and switch the radios around, restart it. And now all of a sudden, KG4AEP is coming in on port 1. Okay, no problem. I'll set the route up for him on that radio. It's dynamic. It works pretty well. Everything's found. Nothing's perfect, but for the most part, it's really good. One thing I was gonna bring up is, let's see. So I'm gonna bring up, this is a settings page. And if I bring up the routes right here, you can see it set up a route between N4SD and B. So that's how it does, it just dynamically sets them up, and then you can go in there and look at it, and you can see signal, or not signal quality, but link quality.
So I was gonna add, last night when I did the latest update, to make sure I got the new firmware on the TNC, I also did the whole TARPN update. The latest one that they pushed out, you can actually get the packet monitor on port 8182. So I don't know if these have been updated with that.
Not yet, I saw your
Yes.
message, yes.
So that's kind of cool that you can actually get the monitor without having to remote into the PI.
And not have QT term running
Right.
if you don't have it. As long as you can get web, as long as you get web access to the node through the browser. Yeah, like Pete was saying, you can bring up essentially this in the web browser. which is really handy. You on it? There we go.
I sent a message.
Okay. Let's see. See which one it popped up on. Test from Kate, yep, there it is. Test from, yep.
And as you play with it, in the commands, you'll find that there's a way to make a direct message to another person. And it'll change the colon to like the caret symbol. So you know that's a direct message, so you have those options, without having to.
Yeah, okay. Who's KE4AJM? There we go.
We got KG4AEP up there too.
Yep,
So how big's your little island radius wise, like 30 miles?
oh, you know the geographics of our area better than I do.
Let's see, so, what's our western approximation view?
Pete. No, yeah,
Eastern.
Western.
I'm Eastern.
Pete would be the most east, yeah.
From Portsmouth to
About
Virginia.
30, about roughly 20 by 30.
Okay. And then, like I said, we're starting to get some guys down in eastern North Carolina, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it sounds like the one, I know one of your cohorts had.
Oh, yeah.
His region is. about
Yeah,
30 to
they
50
built out quite an impressive.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So how many of these islands are there?
As far as, you mean networks?
Yeah,
I think there's 5 right now. There's us, the Raleigh, there's one in Kentucky. Atlanta's starting to build one, maybe it's 4. I think there's a 5th one out somewhere west that people are starting to build in or something. It's obviously something new. What's it?
He said that's way west.
Yeah, yeah, a little west, you know, out that end. So anyways, I'm gonna go and stop sharing this.
Okay,
What's the largest, known count? It's really feasible.
So the node, it's actually capable of up to 16 links per minute.
Look at my total nodes for the entire network.
Oh, that would be Raleigh, and I think they've got maybe 40.
Is there a theoretical?
But is there a
Is there
limit? I
an
don't think,
Is one network, let's say.
I don't think there really is.
No, there really isn't a limit, no. But each node itself can handle up to 16 links. It's probably gonna tax it pretty big,
The
but
size of the routing table is gonna grow, right?
yeah, big time, big time. I mean, it's exponential.
It's probably limited really on the power of the Raspberry Pi.
That and a lot of it too is, your links themselves. Now, here's a nice thing. For those of you who are familiar with packet, BTS, a lot of times it was everyone connected to that one, right? A lot of people still believe in that. I believe in this because what this is doing is it's only putting the load on the link coming from each direction. So if you've got a lot of traffic coming in here, and you got a lot of traffic coming in on, say, on this one, but the links here are not busy. It load balances that a little bit better than it just getting bogged down, you know? It doesn't tie up the other part of the network. If Jason and I are running a bunch of packets back and forth, but Pete and John and all of them on the other end of the network are chatting, we're not affecting them. Now, of course, our packets eventually are gonna propagate over so they see them as well, but it's not gonna affect it badly. It almost kind of like self-loads itself, so. Were there any other questions or anything? I know we're getting.
I wanted to go to our Zoom members up here and
Oh, okay.
see if they had any questions, so. How do we get the audio?
I should audio, if they turn on their speakers, we should hear them. I'll turn the volume up a little bit.
All right, are there any questions from our Zoom audience? Ed, are you out there?
No, Ed is this is me. I'm logged on as Ed because he's the one with the Zoom account, so.
Okay. Nope. How many? do you have?
So we have had a couple people reach out to us from I guess what's the Redlands Rats, I guess, or whatever's going on. That
It's
close.
13.
Hey, that was a great presentation. Is there any chance you could maybe email one of the Dennis a PDF copy of your briefing?
I have it in PDF and I can give you a copy of it. And we'll also, if you join our Discord, which I know I sound like a used person. Join that, we post a lot of that stuff there for everyone to see. Yeah. Yeah, the Discord link, so Blake, if you want, I've got it here. Oh, you said it's bad?
The one on the screen expired.
Oh, really? I just refreshed that this week. That means that the 3D print is probably bad. Okay, we'll fix
I'll hold
that.
it up here and,
Okay, Jason's got.
let's say, get up.
Well, this one's a piece of crap.
All right, so if we were to build a node, say in Charlottesville, it would be. Have the other people in Charlottesville to do it, because there's no direct link from us to you guys.
Right, you would build, and so it's like I'm telling the Gloucester guys right now, I'm saying, hey, guys, we'll help you out, but you've got to do the footwork. You've got to find your guys in your area and start building. We'll gladly help you. We'll
Yeah.
gladly say, here's all the stuff, the files, the 3D print stuff, and we'll give them all that. I'm busy enough managing just our thing.
So I'm trying to work with the schools, public schools, to try to get ham radio in there. Can you, have you worked with any folks that, teachers or anybody that
Not yet.
you can't put one in a school maybe?
Yeah, we haven't yet. I'll be honest, each city is very, very different the way that they'll allow this stuff. Virginia Beach is very. I came from working at Virginia Beach for 3 years. He worked there. He's a police officer for Virginia Beach. We all know how the city functions and they're not very friendly towards this stuff.
Yeah.
But Chesapeake on your hands is the complete flip flops.
Because the kids, I think they're really like digital.
Oh, I think so too. I think this is how we potentially could get some people. I know
That's a
we
good
pulled in some IT kind of guys who never were into radio, but they know the IP side of things and everything. And we pulled some people in on that where they're like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's still computers.
Let me tell you, as an aside, just on that note, I do teach radio merit badge for scouts.
Okay.
And I've done different years, I've done different things to focus on. And a couple times I've done just making phone contacts and work the radio for 10 minutes. But box hunting or doing packet communications where they're at a computer, it's more familiar to them. The fox hunting is more engaged, there's some adventure to it. That's the kind of stuff that gets them really into it, and this is right up that alley.
I do old school visual.
Yeah.
Source code. And with the kids, we do the same with the scouts. Yeah. In the scouts, we haven't spelled our name in Morse code, and it's big.
We can try the private schools, that's a good idea. to go.
All right, so should we stop recording? Or,
Okay,
uh,
first of all, before the recording must end with applause. Thank you so much.
And the four of them were like, hell yeah, we'll get in the car and drive 3 hours with you.